And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks for being with us. Let's get into more of these top headlines here. Live Now look there over the Phoenix, Arizona skyline. Well, you'll remember earlier this week, the state Supreme Court in Arizona, the ruling reviving an abortion ban passed in 1864, has now also added rocket fuel to Democrats' push to add a question to the November ballot asking voters to approve a constitutional amendment protecting the right to abortion until viability. We'll have to track, remember, that effort to see whether or not that question is going to be put to voters here in Arizona this fall in the wake of this ruling by the highest court here in the state, upholding and enforcing the 1864 ban. Now, we want to bring into the conversation right now Jake Warner. He's senior counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom, the group that brought the case that was successful earlier this week in getting this upheld and enforced. He joins me. Jake, thanks for being with us here. I know you had a really, really busy week. We want to get into the particulars, though, of the case. Many here, including some Republicans here in Arizona, Jake, who are running for statewide office, say this went too far. What's your response to them?
Fully protected life. And that's the right decision. Back when Governor Ducey in 2022 reaffirmed the pro-life law that was just upheld this week, he said that a society will be judged by how it treats the most vulnerable among it. Here in Arizona, we will protect life to the greatest extent possible. And this week, the Arizona Supreme Court affirmed that life is a human right, allowing state officials to protect human life from the very moment of conception. And we celebrate that decision.
So I want to put up this tweet in the wake of the ruling that former Republican governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey, posted. He said, "I signed the 15-week law as governor because it is thoughtful conservative policy and an approach to this very sensitive issue that Arizonans can actually agree on." He said, "The ruling today is not the outcome I would have preferred, and I call on our elected leaders to heed the will," there it goes on to say, "of the people of Arizona." Why not a 15-week law? Is that meeting in the middle? Isn't that what was already on the books? Why didn't it go to the 15-week law? Why did it trigger right to the 1864 abortion ban after the ruling?
Well, one reason is because Governor Ducey and the legislature expressly reaffirmed the pro-life law here. In the 2022 law the governor signed, it said that the 15 weeks law did not repeal Arizona's pro-life law. And that's the right call. Think about everything we've learned over the past 50 years. At 6 weeks, unborn children start developing a heartbeat. At 8 weeks, they have fingers and toes. And at 10 weeks, they have unique fingerprints. All life is worth protecting. And I'm very thankful that here in Arizona, we protect life at every stage of development.
So Attorney General Chris Mays, though, Jake, says she's not going to enforce this. What do you make of that? And are you going to take action? Is Alliance Defending Freedom going to take action against some of those efforts by Mays?
As I read the relevant laws, that's not her call to make. County prosecutors should be free to enforce the pro-life law as written as soon as the Arizona Supreme Court order goes into effect.
Okay, so, I want to ask this because this is another part of the law that's quite controversial. And this doesn't go into effect for, I believe, the next 2 weeks. But what about doctors who perform abortions? Because there is an exception in the 1864 territorial abortion ban for the life and the health of the mother. Will doctors be prosecuted over this law, do you think? Is that in the statute?
Doctors who perform abortions that are not necessary to save the mother's life would be subject to this law. The pro-life law here targets those who profit most from the abortion industry. And we believe that in a few weeks, when the Arizona Supreme Court's order becomes in effect, that county prosecutors should enforce this law, that it should affirm life and protect human life here in the state to the greatest extent possible.
So, like I said in the introduction here, this very question could be put to Arizona voters in the fall. Are you worried your work might be undone by the will of the people if they enshrine a right to abortion within the state's constitution? Is Alliance Defending Freedom taking any action against that going into the fall?
Well, the people of Arizona have long supported laws that protect life from the moment of conception. We hope that voters will be emboldened by the Arizona Supreme Court decision upholding our laws as written to go out and vote to support laws just like it here and elsewhere, affirming that life is a human right and protecting it from the moment of conception. It's always the right decision to protect life as much as possible. There's no more fundamental right than the right to life.
Yeah, and we do know the Vice President, Kamala Harris, she was in the state today talking about this, talking about how this is going to be such a central issue in the presidential election, directly placing the blame at the feet of former President Donald Trump here. That seems to be the message. You know, Arizona is a battleground state. Let's just talk about politics briefly. Is this going to be an issue for Arizona voters that could, swing the tide, so to speak, to keep Arizona blue?
Well, it's my hope that it would have the reverse effect, that this court would embolden those who affirm that life is a human right to go out to the ballot box and reaffirm protections for life that this state has had in place for over 100 years. So I hope it has the exact reverse effect.
Yeah, I know obviously your organization is so instrumental in bringing these cases to courts all across the country, but should it be on a ballot for voters directly, or should it be strictly up to courts, or should it be strictly up to legislative bodies? We know there was a push by Arizona state Democrats just yesterday to repeal the 1864 abortion ban. House Republicans there in Phoenix blocked that effort. Where does the power lie when it comes to the issue of abortion?
Well, when the U.S. Supreme Court handed down its decision in Dobbs, it overturned Roe v. Wade, and it returned the issue of protecting life to the people and their elected representatives. So different states might allow for ballot initiatives. Other states might not have those kinds of initiatives. But whatever the case, the Supreme Court made clear that the people and their elected representatives, both at the federal and state level, would be responsible for protecting life moving forward.
And just lastly, about elected representatives, including some Republicans who have come out against this in the state, you're kind of seeing this fracture within the Republican Party and within the pro-life movement, so to speak, about what has happened in Arizona. Does that bode well for November?
All officials should support life, especially those who call themselves pro-life. What we hope is that officials will boldly come out on the right side of this issue and say that life is a human right. Like I said earlier, there is just no more fundamental right than the right to life. So what I would urge officials is to clarify their position and come out and boldly support the most vulnerable among us, including those who are unborn children in their mom's womb.
All right, Jake Warner, we're going to have to leave it at that. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.